What if I told you that some of the most powerful operations in the world were never meant to be discovered? For decades, the CIA and FBI have operated in the shadows, shaping wars, toppling governments, controlling information, and deciding fates, without public approval. What you know is only the surface. What you don't know is far more disturbing. Hidden files, secret programs, classified operations. Some revealed by accident, some exposed by whistleblowers, and many still buried in silence. This documentary is not speculation. It is not fiction. It is the story of real power, real secrecy, and real consequences. If you believe you already know the truth, stay with us, because after this video, you will never see intelligence agencies the same way again. The birth of shadows, how CIA and FBI were really created. Before the world knew their names, before movies turned them into heroes, and before politicians praised them as protectors of freedom. The CIA and FBI were born in fear, not the fear of criminals, not the fear of enemies, but the fear of losing control. The early 20th century was a time of chaos. Wars were changing the world, empires were collapsing, and information had become more powerful than armies. Governments realized something dangerous. Whoever controlled information could control nations. America watched Europe burn. Revolutions rose. Dictators took power. Intelligence agencies like MI6 and the KGB were already operating in the shadows. The United States felt exposed, blind, vulnerable. That fear created the first shadow. The FBI emerged first, officially to fight crime. That was the public story. But behind closed doors, its real purpose was broader: to monitor threats, supers decent, and protect political power. J. Edgar Hoover became its face, and its secret weapon. Hoover didn't just run the FBI. He ruled it. For nearly 5 decades, Hoover collected files on everyone: politicians, judges, journalists, activists, not to protect the law, but to protect himself. Presidents feared him. Congress avoided him. Anyone who opposed him mysteriously found their reputation destroyed. The FBI was no longer just law enforcement. It had become a silent observer of American life. Then came World War II, and with it, paranoia reached a new level. America discovered that winning wars wasn't just about soldiers and weapons, it was about secrets. Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan were masters of intelligence operations. America needed something stronger, something darker. In 1947, the CIA was born. But here's the truth they rarely tell you. The CIA was never meant to answer to the public. It was designed to operate outside the law, hidden from oversight, justified by national security. Its mission wasn't defense, it was influence. Foreign governments were no longer obstacles. They were targets. Coups were planned. Elections were manipulated. Leaders were removed quietly. The CIA didn't fight wars, it engineered them. From Iran to Guatemala, from Southeast Asia to Latin America, governments fell without a single American soldier stepping onto the battlefield. Officially, America denied involvement. Unofficially, the CIA perfected plausible deniability. If caught, it never happened. And if someone talked, they disappeared from relevance. The FBI and CIA were never meant to work together. One watched inside America. The other controlled events outside. But secrecy breeds temptation. Power grows when unchallenged. Soon, lines blurred. Surveillance expanded. Files grew thicker, and citizens became subjects. The public still believed these agencies existed to protect them. But protection came at a price most people never agreed to pay. By the 1950s, secrecy had become culture. Questioning authority became suspicious. Activism became a threat. Ideas themselves became enemies. This was only the beginning. What started as intelligence soon became experimentation, human experimentation. And that is where the real nightmare begins. Because in the name of national security, the CIA crossed a line and never came back. In part those, we will expose one of the darkest chapters in American history. A program so disturbing that even government officials later claimed they didn't know it existed. MKUltra. Mind control. Human experiments. Destroyed lives. And a question that still haunts America today. How far can a government go before it stops protecting its people and starts owning them? The mind control experiments they tried to erase. What if I told you that the US government once believed the human mind could be that memories could be erased, personalities broken, and free will destroyed, all in the name of national security? This is not a conspiracy theory. This is MKUltra. In the early 1950s, America was terrified. The Cold War had begun. The Soviet Union and China were winning ideological battles without firing bullets. American prisoners of war were returning, changed. Some praised communism. Some spoke strangely. Some seemed broken. Washington panicked. The question that haunted intelligence officials was simple and terrifying. What if the enemy has learned how to control the human mind? Instead of asking whether it was moral, the CIA asked whether it was possible, and that decision changed everything. In 1953, under the direct approval of CIA Director Allen Dulles, a secret program was launched. Its name, MKUltra. Officially, it didn't exist. Unofficially, it became one of the most unethical experiments in modern history. The goal was ambitious and horrifying: to find ways to control behavior, extract secrets, erase memories, and create the perfect interrogations. The test subjects, not volunteers, not informed participants, ordinary Americans, prisoners, mental patients, college students, soldiers, and people who never even knew they were part of an experiment. Doctors, scientists, and universities were secretly funded by the CIA. Front organizations hid the money trail. Paperwork was intentionally vague. No consent forms, no warnings. People were drugged without their knowledge. The most infamous weapon of MKUltra was LSD. At the time, LSD was experimental, powerful, unpredictable. The CIA believed it could unlock minds or shatter them. People were given LSD in hospitals, bars, offices, sometimes slipped into drinks without warning. Some were observed behind one-way mirrors while having psychological breakdowns. They cried. They hallucinated. They lost their sense of reality. Some never recovered. One scientist, Frank Olson, was unknowingly dosed with LSD during a CIA retreat. Days later, he fell, or was pushed, from a hotel window. The official story called it suicide. Years later, his family learned the truth, but by then, it was too late. MKUltra didn't stop at drugs. There were experiments involving hypnosis, sensory deprivation, sleep deprivation, electroshock, therapies, psychological torture. Patients were locked in rooms for days. Lights were removed. Sound was eliminated. Minds were left alone with fear. Doctors recorded the results like lab notes. How long before a person breaks? How fast can identity be erased? Some experiments involve reprogramming, attempting to destroy a personality and rebuild it from scratch. People were reduced to empty shells, and then abandoned. The CIA didn't care about healing. They cared about data. One of the most disturbing facts: many of the victims never knew what happened to them. They went home confused, traumatized, changed. Their families watched them deteriorate, never understanding why. Marriages collapsed, careers ended, lives were destroyed, and the government stayed silent for years. 40 years. MKUltra remained buried under classification stamps and destroyed files. Most records were deliberately burned in 1973, just as the program was about to be exposed. Why? Because even the CIA knew this was unforgivable. In the 1970s, congressional investigations finally uncovered fragments of the truth. Survivors testified. Families demanded answers. The government admitted wrongdoing, but no one was punished. No CIA director went to prison. No scientist was held accountable. The official apology came decades later. Quietly. No memorials. No justice. just a lesson buried in history. When secrecy meets fear, human rights become optional. MKUltra officially ended, but here's the question that refuses to disappear. Did it really end, or did it simply change its name? Because intelligence agencies don't abandon power. They refine it, and the tools of control today are more advanced than LSD ever was. In the next part, we will explore something even more dangerous than mind control experiments, something that reshaped history itself. Assassinations, cover-ups, and deaths that raise too many questions. Assassinations, cover-ups, and the deaths that know too much there are secrets. And then there are secrets so dangerous that someone has to die to keep them hidden. In the history of the CIA and FBI, there are deaths officially labeled as accidents, suicides, or lone wolf crimes. But when you look closer, the patterns don't add up. Too many coincidences. Too many missing files. Too many questions left unanswered. This is the side of intelligence history they don't teach. This is where power meets silence, and silence kills. Let's start with one of the most controversial moments in American history. November 22nd, 1963. President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. Officially, one man was responsible. Lee Harvey Oswald. Case closed. But nothing about this case ever truly closed. Oswald himself was murdered just 2 days later, live on television, by Jack Ruby. The man accused of killing the president never stood trial. Evidence vanished. Files were classified for decades. Witnesses changed. Statements. Why? The FBI denied negligence. The CIA denied involvement, but internal documents later revealed something disturbing. Both agencies had prior knowledge of Oswald. They were tracking him. Hust didn't stop him. Or didn't want to. Even today, thousands of JFK assassination files remain partially redacted. 60 years later, the truth is still classified, and JFK was not the only one. In the 1960s and 70s, several political figures, activists, and journalists who challenged powerful systems were silenced. Martin Luther King Jr. officially assassinated by a lone gunman. But FBI documents later revealed that King was under intense surveillance. His phones were tapped. His movements tracked. He was labeled a national threat. After his death, files were sealed for decades. Why monitor a man preaching peace so closely? Because he was becoming powerful. And power scares intelligence agencies more than violence. Then there's COINTELPRO, a secret FBI program designed to neutralize individuals and organizations considered dangerous: civil rights leaders, anti-war activists, journalists. Nucias didn't always mean arrest. It meant destroy reputations, create internal conflict, push people toward mental collapse. Some activists were driven to suicide. Others disappeared from public life forever. The FBI later admitted COINTELPRO existed, but claimed it was necessary. Necessary for whom? Now let's talk about mysterious deaths. CIA scientists, whistleblowers, intelligence insiders, people who tried to speak. Some fell from windows, some overdosed. Always ruled suicides. One example, Gadi Webb, a journalist who exposed CIA links to drug trafficking in the 1990s. His reporting suggested intelligence agencies allowed drugs to flood American communities to fund secret operations. He was destroyed professionally. Years later, he was found dead with 2 gunshot wounds to the head. The death was ruled a suicide. 2 shots. Suicide. Think about that. Another pattern emerges again and again. Files go missing. Hard drives crash. Witnesses suddenly forget. And when questions get too loud, national security is invoked. Case closed. This is how intelligence secrecy works. Not through movies and explosions, but through paperwork, pressure, and silence. The FBI and CIA rarely act directly. They influence, they observe, they wait. And when necessary, they let events happen. Because sometimes, doing nothing is the most powerful move. But here's the most unsettling truth. Most of these operations were never illegal at the time. They were justified internally, approved quietly, signed by men who never appeared in headlines. And when things went wrong, the files were sealed. History was rewritten. The public moved on. But families didn't. Wives waited for answers. Children grew up with questions. Parents died without closure, and the truth stayed locked away. Which brings us to the most dangerous people in intelligence history. Not assassins, not spies, but whistleblowers. People who saw too much. People who knew the system from the inside and decided to speak. Mass surveillance. When everyone became a target, there was a time when Americans believed that intelligence agencies only watched bad people. Terrorists. Foreign spies. Criminal networks. Regular citizens believed they were invisible. They were wrong. In the early 2000s, after the September 11th attacks, fear reshaped the world overnight. The United States promised security, and in return the public unknowingly handed over something priceless. Privacy. Behind closed doors, the CIA and FBI were given expanded powers. New laws, secret codes, unlimited budgets, all justified by one sentence. National security. What happened next changed intelligence history forever. A massive surveillance machine was built quietly. Phones, emails, internet searches, location, data, everything. The goal was simple. Collect first, question later. Most Americans had no idea until one man broke the silence. Edward Snowden. In 2013, Snowden revealed classified documents showing that U.S. intelligence agencies were running one of the largest mass surveillance programs ever created. Not targeted surveillance. Mass surveillance. Millions of innocent people were being monitored daily. Phone calls were logged. Metadata collected. Emails scanned. Even allies were not spared. Foreign leaders' phones were tapped. International communications, and the world was shocked. The U.S. government denied wrongdoing at first, then slowly admitted parts of it, but the damage was already done. Americans realized something terrifying. They were not watching others. They were watching everyone. The FBI insisted these programs were necessary. The CIA insisted they saved lives. But critics asked the dangerous question: who watches the watchers? Secret courts approved surveillance requests in near total secrecy. Oversight committees were briefed selectively. And the public, kept in the dark. Even more disturbing was how advanced these systems had become. Artificial intelligence was now involved. Algorithms analyzed behavior patterns. Not just what you said, but how you said it. Not just where you went, but who you were near. Predictive intelligence was born. The idea wasn't to stop crimes after they happened. It was to predict them before they occurred. Sounds powerful. Sounds efficient. Sounds dangerous, because prediction is not proof. Mistakes happen, and when they do, there is no one to appeal to. Names get flagged. Lists get created. Lives get disrupted. People suddenly find themselves questioned, monitored, or restricted. Without explanation. Without charges. Without recourse. The system is silent. This is how modern intelligence operates. Invisible, automated, unaccountable, and it doesn't end at borders. Surveillance data is shared with partner nations. 5 eyes, 9 eyes, 14 eyes. Global intelligence alliances that exchange data quietly, meaning one government can watch you, even if another one technically isn't allowed to. This blurred the line between domestic and foreign spying. Legally, morally, then came social media. A goldmine. People voluntarily shared thoughts, photos, locations, opinions. Intelligence agencies didn't need to spy. People uploaded everything themselves. Data became the new weapon, and whoever controlled data controlled power. The FBI shifted focus from reactive investigations to behavioral monitoring. The CIA expanded cyber operations. Digital footprints became more valuable than fingerprints, and all of it happened without public debate. No warnings, no votes, no consent. Just quiet expansion. The scariest part, most of it is still active. Laws changed names. Programs were reformed. But the infrastructure remains. Servers still collect. Algorithms still analyze. Systems still watch. And the average citizen still doesn't know when or why. Because secrecy is not a bug, it's the feature. Intelligence agencies argue transparency would weaken security, but history shows secrecy often protects power, not people. And when power goes unchecked, abuse follows. Which brings us to the most explosive topic yet. Not surveillance, not assassinations, but operations that went wrong. Operations that destabilized countries, destroyed governments, and left chaos behind. When intelligence agencies played God, there are intelligence operations that protect nations, and then there are operations that destroy nations. This is the line the CIA and FBI claim they never cross. History tells a different story. For decades, intelligence agencies have not only observed the world, they have reshaped it. Quietly, ruthlessly, and often without consequences. Behind classified files and redacted documents are stories of governments overthrown, leaders eliminated, and entire countries pushed into chaos, all in the name of security or control. The CIA mastered one strategy better than any other, Rahimi-chan. If a foreign leader did not align with U.S. interests, they didn't always need invasion. They needed destabilization. Propaganda campaigns were launched. Opposition groups were funded. Economic pressure applied. Media narratives manipulated. And when the moment was right, governments collapsed from within Iran and Chile and Guatemala, Congo. Elected leaders removed. Dictators installed. Democracy sacrificed for influence. Officially, these operations never existed. But leaked documents and declassified files revealed the truth. Millions suffered the consequences. Civil wars erupted. Economies collapsed. Generations were lost, and no one was held accountable. The FBI, meanwhile, played a different game at home. But fear has a way of justifying extremes. Their mission was internal security. During the Cold War, the FBI ran a secret program known as COINTELPRO. Its goal: destroy groups considered threats. Civil rights activists, anti-war protesters, political movements. The methods were brutal: false accusations, planted evidence, psychological warfare. Leaders were discredited. Organizations torn apart from the inside. Lives ruined without trials. Shriveled. Martin Luther King Jr. himself was targeted, harassed, blackmailed. Not because he was violent, but because he was powerful. The FBI feared influence more than crime. And the public never knew until the files leaked. By then, the damage was done, but the pattern continued. No oversight. In the post-9/11 world, intelligence agencies gained unprecedented power. Secret prisons, extraordinary renditions, enhanced interrogation, a softer phrase for torture. Suspects were captured, transported across borders, and interrogated in black sites. No courts, no lawyers. Some were guilty. Many were not. Innocent people were detained for years based on faulty intelligence, mistaken identity, false tips, bad data. Lives disappeared into silence. Families never received answers. Governments denied responsibility. And intelligence agencies hid behind secrecy. The justification was always the same. If you knew what we know, you'd understand. But knowledge without accountability becomes tyranny. Then came drone warfare. Remote killings based on intelligence assessments. Targets identified through data, phone signals, movement patterns, associations. A strike is approved. A missile is launched. A life ends. Sometimes the right life, sometimes the wrong one. Collateral damage becomes a statistic. A classified footnote. Mistakes are buried. Because admitting error would expose the system, and systems do not confess. Even within agencies, whistleblowers tried to speak. They were silenced, discredited, exiled. Edward Snowden fled. Others weren't so lucky. Careers destroyed, reputations erased, lives shattered. The message was clear: expose secrets, and you become the enemy. So the machine keeps moving. Bigger budgets, smarter AI, deeper surveillance. The CIA and FBI argue the world is more dangerous than ever. And they may be right, but the real question is this: who decides how much freedom is too much? Who draws the line? Because history proves one thing consistently: power expands, rarely contracts, and secrecy ensures no one knows when it goes too far. Today's intelligence agencies are faster, quieter, and more powerful than ever. They don't just react. They predict. They don't just observe. They influence. They don't just protect nations. They shape reality. And most of us will never know how often our lives are affected by decisions made in rooms we will never see, by people we will never hear about. This is the true secret of the CIA and FBI. Not just what they do, but how little we are allowed to know. And that secrecy is the most powerful weapon of all. The future of intelligence AI, total surveillance, and the end of privacy, the most dangerous intelligence operations in history, are not the ones already exposed. They are the ones still being built. Welcome to the future of intelligence. A future where secrecy is automated, power is invisible, and control does not need soldiers, only data. In the past, intelligence agencies followed suspects. Today, they predict them. Artificial intelligence has changed everything. The CIA and FBI no longer rely only on human analysts. They rely on machines that never sleep. Algorithms scan billions of data points every second. Messages, emails, search, history, phone calls, location data, facial recognition, financial behavior. Every digital footprint tells a story, and AI connects those stories faster than any human ever could. This is called predictive intelligence. Not reacting to crime, but identifying threats before they exist. A person does not need to commit a crime anymore to become a suspect, a pattern defined by data. They only need to match a pattern, and patterns do not understand innocence. They understand probability. A high-risk score can trigger surveillance. Surveillance can trigger investigation. Investigation can destroy lives without a single charge. And the target may never know why they were chosen. This is not science fiction. This is happening now. Facial recognition systems can identify a person from a blurry image in a crowd. Cameras are everywhere. Airports, streets, stores, public transport, even private homes through smart devices. Your phone listens. Your TV listens. Your car listens. And intelligence agencies don't need warrants the way they used to. Because data is shared, purchased, collected quietly. Private companies gather it. Governments access it. The line between corporate surveillance and state surveillance has disappeared, and no one voted for this. Cyberintelligence has become the new battlefield. Wars are no longer declared. They are launched silently. A cyber attack can shut down power grids, disable hospitals, manipulate elections, crash economies, and the attacker may never be identified. Intelligence agencies now operate in cyberspace more than physical space. They infiltrate networks, plant backdoors, monitor global data traffic, and prepare digital weapons that can be activated at any moment. This means the next world war may not begin with missiles. It may begin with silence. No explosions, no headlines. Just systems failing one by one, and panic spreading faster than truth. Then there's mass psychological influence. Modern intelligence is not just about information. It is about perception. Social media has become the perfect weapon. Narratives are shaped, trends are engineered, opinions are nudged through bots, fake accounts, algorithm manipulation. What people believe can be controlled without force. Entire populations can be influenced without knowing they are being influenced. Reality becomes flexible. Truth becomes optional. And intelligence agencies understand this power better than anyone. Some experts warn we are entering the age of algorithmic authority, where machines suggest decisions. Governments approve them. Humans follow them, because AI appears neutral, objective. But AI is built by humans, trained on biased data, programmed with hidden priorities, and once deployed, it is almost impossible to challenge. A system that cannot be questioned, cannot be trusted, yet we trust it with everything. Borders, security, freedom. Whistleblowers warn that oversight is collapsing. Intelligence agencies operate faster than laws. Technology evolves faster than ethics, and secrecy blocks accountability. Parliaments don't fully understand the systems. Courts struggle to review classified algorithms. The public sees nothing, knows nothing. And that is exactly how intelligence power thrives. The CIA and FBI insist these tools prevent terrorism, save lives, maintain stability. And sometimes they do. But history teaches us a painful lesson. Every tool created for protection can be used for control. Every system built for safety can become a cage. The future may not look like dictatorship. It may look like convenience, security, efficiency, until freedom becomes conditional, until privacy becomes suspicious, until silence becomes compliance. And by the time people realize what they have lost, there may be no way back. This is the final truth about intelligence agencies. They are no longer just watching the world. They are rewriting it. Quietly, digitally, permanently. And the most dangerous secret of all, the future is already here. The most dangerous secrets are not the ones hidden from enemies, but the ones hidden from the public. What you've seen today is only part of a much larger system, a system built on silence, protected by secrecy, and powered by information. The CIA and FBI don't just observe history. They shape it. And as technology grows, so does their reach. The question is no longer are we being watched. The question is, how much control are we willing to surrender in the name of security? If this documentary made you think, question, or feel uncomfortable, that means it did its job. Subscribe for more deep dive documentaries. Like to support independent research? Comment your thoughts. Your voice matters, because the moment people stop asking questions, power stops answering.